on YouTube. This is super exciting. So I do these trainings for individuals in my space pretty often, but this is the first time being live on YouTube doing it. So I'm very excited to be here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you have not met me before, hi, my name is Liz Martin. I am a certified sex educator, a sex positive parenting coach, and a certified doula. All right. I literally talk about sex or the effects of sex all the time. And I love having these conversations with people close to me, with people in my space in any capacity. So I've been getting a lot of questions about my doula services lately and about my methodology behind it. And so I wanted to share that with all of you, of knowing what this looked like and what a doula even is and why that is something that I offer inside of Empower the Talk. So at Empower the Talk, I'm the CEO and founder. Our mission is building sex positive homes. Okay. All of your experience of pregnancy and your birth story goes into that. Okay. All of that intertwines in a really beautiful, powerful way. So, with being a certified doula, I want to explain a little bit of what a doula is. A doula is an emotional support during labor. All right. So you have your OBGYN that is a medical professional. You have your nurses that are medical professionals that are helping you with the medical side of labor and delivery. All right. A doula is very much there for emotional support for both you and any partner or support systems that you have in that space with you. My focus is to ensure that your voice is heard in this experience because you are the birthing person. And it's important that what you are wanting and what you are feeling and what clarifications you need are heard, understood, and advocated for. All right. So that's my role as a doula, is being that voice for you, because if you have ever either experienced labor before or know somebody who has, it can be really difficult to use that voice really loudly during labor, because labor is a lot and it can be an intense experience. And so having somebody that is there to advocate for you and your needs is the number one priority. Okay. My methodology behind doula services is a method that I have created here inside of Empower the Talk that is consent-focused birthing. All right. If you've not heard me use this term before, I want to explain what that means and what that looks like. And it comes from the framework that consent is mandatory in all spaces. All right. You, just because you are a birthing person, does not mean that consent goes out the window. Oftentimes, unfortunately, in birthing spaces, there's an expectation that you just agree to things being done or happening to your body without consent ever being obtained. And that is not something that is supported inside Empower the Talk at all, or by me as a being, as an individual. Okay. Consent-focused birthing is that belief that you, as the birthing person, still have consent, that you still get to decide what is done and to your body. Okay. So I want to give a little background as to where this came from and what made me interested in the doula space and how it intertwines into the work that I'm already doing. So, as I said, I'm Liz. I'm a mom of two. I've been through 2 pregnancies and deliveries. My first daughter was a journey, a journey of 36 hours of labor. And I am forever grateful to have had a dear friend and doula with me inside of that space, along with my partner. And I know that had I not had her support, that grueling 36 hours would have been even more intense and even more rough for me to manage had I not had that support there that was advocating for my needs and hearing me in what I wanted and what my goals during this labor and delivery process were. So I had this experience that ultimately ended up being a relatively traumatic experience for me, of what this labor experience turned into, and wasn't what I anticipated labor being like. I went in not knowing, because I'd never experienced it before, and just ended up being a pretty traumatic experience for me. So I was going into my second pregnancy with, I want this to be different. I want this experience to be different. I also delivered my second baby in the height of COVID. So rules were very, very strict of who was and was not allowed to be in the room. And ultimately, my partner was the only person that was able to be in the room when I delivered my second baby. One of the things that I was not prepared for and did not anticipate was how many triggers came up for me with my second labor. So I am somebody that has experienced sexual assault, and with my first labor, there were no triggers that came up for me in regards to sexual assault. But with my second, despite having been through the experience before, there were many things that were triggering me. And I had to have a really deep heart to heart with my OB a week before I delivered, of saying, this is what I need in the delivery room in order to feel safe. And it is necessary to me that every being in that room asks consent before touching my body. Because unfortunately, that isn't common practice. It is just accepted or understood of implied consent. That because you're a birthing person, that you automatically agree to being touched in ways that you wouldn't be touched any other time. And so I had to set that boundary with my OB, who I knew was never intentionally trying to harm me, right? Like, I knew that she had my best interest at heart, and I did truly believe that and trust her as my OB. But I had to have that really difficult conversation, and I kept thinking, like, what if I had had somebody that could support me in that? What if I had had somebody that could support me in navigating that conversation? What if I had had somebody that was in the labor and delivery room that was consistently advocating for my consent to be obtained? How different that experience could have been. Ultimately, that labor and delivery experience was a beautifully healing experience and incredibly powerful, and changed my entire perspective on birthing and what the birthing experience can be like, and how empowering it can feel to move through this space with your body and with your baby. It was so powerful. And I know that this mentality of consent-focused birthing is something that is, one, not widely practiced, and that consent in childbirth isn't something that is talked about, unfortunately. And I also know that there are so many birthing people who have had experiences that I have had, and may have many triggers come up. The experience of pregnancy and birthing can be really, really intimate and really, really vulnerable. What if you had somebody that was on your team? Somebody that was there to support you in this experience and advocate as those needs come up, and be able to say, like, oh, whoa, don't touch her yet. You haven't asked consent, right? Having somebody that is vouching for you every step of the way. And this became something for Empower the Talk because of that lack that I had, because of what I wish that experience could have been like, of having somebody in my corner. And I know how freaking powerful that can be for so many birthing people. So I got my certification as a doula, and I now offer doula services to individuals, whether they have experienced trauma or not, but with this mentality that childbirth still requires consent, and that you get to decide how you want that experience to go, and that you are the boss of your body. You have bodily autonomy, and you get to decide what that experience is. I describe myself as very birthing person focused, in that I will hear exactly what your wishes and desires are around labor and support that in any way that I can, because this is your experience, not my experience. And I know that when you are given that autonomy, and that you are given that voice and that advocacy and that support, that experience changes drastically. And being able to come out of a labor experience saying, holy shit, I am powerful. That was incredible. Changes everything. I am also somebody that has a lot of experience with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and it was fascinating to see the difference in the ways in which postpartum looked in comparison to those two birthing experiences. And that after that really traumatic labor experience for me, postpartum depression was at an all-time high. It was at its peak. The second time, it didn't show up in the same way. And it didn't show up as this deep, dark depression consistently hanging over me. I still had postpartum anxiety, and there was still a lot of that. And we were still in the height of COVID and all of the things, but it showed up differently because I felt so empowered by that experience. My experience with breastfeeding was vastly different the second time around. And yes, there's things to be said about bodies and how our bodies respond the second time, but I felt so much more confident and empowered the second time around. And I love being able to support women in whatever their feeding journey is, whether that is choosing to breastfeed, whether it is breastfeeding for the colostrum and then moving to formula, whether it is doing formula from the very beginning, that all of that is a decision that you get to make. And I want you to feel empowered in the choices that you're making. That only you know what is best for your baby. You are their parent. You are the person that has been growing them and bonding with them and connecting with them. Only you know what is best for them. And inside of this space as a doula, I get to honor that even more, that you know what this is supposed to look like for you. And I get to support you in that and advocate for you in that and hear you and also give you permission that it's okay if it changes. It's okay if now at 3 weeks old, you've decided that a different journey is better for your family. And that you get to have that decisiveness and that power given to you. You get to hold that. You get to cherish that and enjoy that space of being a parent. My background is as a social worker and as a sex educator. So a lot of these conversations can feel really vulnerable and really intimate because the birthing experience is really intimate. And I hold that in a space of confidentiality and honor that you are sharing a really intimate thing with me, right? And I don't take that lightly at all. I have a lot of education around bodies, around pregnancy and bodies. There's a lot of material and support that I can give you just from an understanding side of better understanding your body and that experience and what that experience can be like for you. But none of that is to say that there is one way to birth. Right? I am going to have all walks of life in this birthing experience and all different choices and all different birth plans and all different experiences. And all of that is welcomed and supported in this space because my basis of all of those conversations is from consent-focused birthing. That you are the only one that gets to give consent to that experience. Okay. I am really, really excited to offer doula services due to the other things that I do inside of my business. I do have really limited availability, and I'm only going to be taking one client per quarter so that I know that I can invest time and resources and being able to be the support system that I know that that birthing person needs and is desiring. So I'm only able to take one client per quarter. If this is something that you're interested in, you can look at more information on my website at empowerthetalk.com. And then you can go to that consent focused birthing section and you'll see a lot more information about what that looks like. You can also schedule an informational call with me of maybe you have questions specifically for me, because the really important thing about a doula experience is that you feel safe with me. Right. And that is not something that I get to decide for you. You get to decide that of what this connection feels like for you. I am somebody that has had two widely different birthing experiences. And so I have a lot of experience behind me of the variety in which that can look. All right. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about my methodology of consent-focused birthing or any questions that you have just about me in general in order to feel safe. I love chatting with birthing people of all walks in life. So even if you just hop on my website at empowerthetalk.com and type in the little chat box of like sharing your story with me, oh, I would be honored. I would be honored to hear that from you. Thank you for spending this time with me and being in this space with me. And I'm really excited to support more birthing people inside of Empower the Talk. I'm sending you all of the love, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.